in there already, they're kind of like feeling awkward. Like, what I'm doing here? Everything is already there, and still it didn't really begin. So maybe we could play some games or do something. Tell some jokes.
The people have just a couple of minutes to get their coffee or tea or whatever they drink. So
okay.
This rainy Monday.
I got mine.
Yeah, because you're a professional.
Yeah. A cup of coffee wouldn't really hurt anyone today, I guess.
So how about the weather, guys? You see rain outside?
In Moscow, actually, it's not really that bad just right now, but still, I got so many trees around my house. So whenever it's like summer, it's always green. Outside of my window, it's so beautiful. And then when it's autumn, it's fall, and I've got red and yellow all around my window. And right now, it's just like winter. Lots of branches and no leaves, and I'm like, so it's gonna be snowing,
Some Dark Souls vibes.
Yeah, so we're at that time of the year.
It's poison swamps out there, out of the window,
So we already have a first question, which is application to Game Drive still available? And yes, it is. You guys have time till tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be the last day, but I'm going to mention that once again a little bit later. I believe we can start. So please gather around for the final Game Drive AMA session number 3. Final, at least for this year. I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's get it on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last Game Drive AMA session of this year. During September and October, we had 3 AMA sessions where we introduced the Game Drive campaign by MY.GAMES and Google, aimed to support mobile game developers from EMEA countries. And we have also discussed several aspects of game development, and I hope you've already watched all of these videos. And before we start, here's an important thing to remind you, and we have already mentioned that before. Tomorrow, Tuesday 19th, will be the last day for applications. So please use your chance to submit your project today or tomorrow. And now, today we welcome you to our third and the last educational session in a series of Game Drive events open to everyone, really everyone, irrespective of the team size or experience level or whatever, who would like to learn more about mobile game development and publishing. My name, as usual, is Anton Gorodetsky, and I'm the head of Play One Media Project at MY.GAMES, and I will be your host today for the session. And of course, today's AMA is supported by our beautiful, dear, invited guests from 2 media channels. The first partner is the amazing guys from ZavtraCast Media. Please welcome. All right, please welcome Maxim.
Welcome on stage.
Yeah, Maxim and Timur, who are streaming us today on their YouTube channel. We very much welcome the guys and their listeners and invite them to join the discussion in the comments section on the ZavtraCast YouTube live stream chat. We're reviewing all the comments and will definitely answer all of your questions. So welcome, guys.
Hi there, and we're really glad to be here, and thanks for having us. And we really hope that today's AMA session, and as well as an educational part, will be as interesting as the 2 previous ones. They were really cool, and I hope it's going to be living up to our expectations and yours as well, because actually there are lots of really cool data, insights, and case studies we had on the previous AMA sessions, and I would hope that it's going to be the same today.
Yes, and I remind our viewers to ask away the questions if you have them. Don't be shy, don't be afraid. Write your questions both in Russian or in English. We will translate your Russian questions. There's no problem. Don't be shy, just ask away.
All right. I just love working with the guys. You guys always know what to say, and thank you. And we also have our other partner, 80 Level, a professional media outlet about game development, who's also streaming us today on their YouTube channel. Hey guys, and thank you for supporting us today. And of course, do not hesitate to ask your questions there as well. Yeah, before we start, let's go through a few technical details about the session. All our AMA sessions are in English. However, we also have a Russian simultaneous translation, so feel free to choose the language stream by clicking on the globe button at the bottom of your Zoom interface panel. Our speaker sessions will take approximately 40 minutes, and then we'll have another 40 minutes Q&A session with you. So please, just as Maxim and Timur have mentioned earlier, prepare your questions and do not hesitate to ask them by using either the Q&A chat option in the bottom panel of the Zoom interface, or to those who watch us on Zavtracast or 80 Level YouTube channels, feel free to ask your questions right on the YouTube live stream chats. So we'll monitor them and try to answer during the session today. Finally, before we get to the speakers, for those of you who for some reason still do not know what Game Drive is, let me briefly explain the idea of the whole thing. Game Drive is a joint initiative created together by MY.GAMES and Google. And this is a business acceleration campaign for mobile game developers, which is designed to help developers from EMEA countries, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, in the development, publishing, promotion, and scaling of their games. So, basically, what do we offer to developers? First, individual project evaluation by Google and MY.GAMES experts. Second, detailed feedback about the project and analysis of the growth opportunities. Third, marketing, publishing, and project scaling expert advice. Fourth, business potential review. And fifth, individual consultations with each studio. In addition, in the second season, MY.GAMES and Google offer the following advantages to developers. Number one, unique opportunity for internal benchmarking tests by Google and MY.GAMES. Number two, Google advertising credits for user acquisition testing. And number three, opportunity to receive investments from MY.GAMES with an investment pool of up to $30 million. So, if you're interested in participating in the campaign, please apply on the website mgvc.com/gamedrive, but do not forget, tomorrow is the last day for your application this year. All right. Today we'll talk about such topics as product monetization, one of the hardest things for mobile game developers. We have several quite interesting speakers today, but please remember that we're also here to talk to you guys. So do not hesitate to bring your questions to the table and send them to the Q&A chat or in the live stream chat or wherever you guys prefer. Finally, let me welcome our speakers in today's session from MY.GAMES Venture Capital and Google. The speaker number one is Bogdina Buvaeva, who is a strategic partner manager at Google AdMob. Hi, Bogdina.
Hello, Anton. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Very excited to be here.
All right. Speaker number two is Michael Isidorov, who is an executive producer at MGVC. Michael.
Hey guys, Anton, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to you, to share some knowledge among you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. So without further ado, Bogdina, here you go, please.
Thanks, Anton. All right, so I'm super excited to be here with you today. It's your final almost session. And I know your educational content was building up to this presentation. So we have monetization as a final step for your education. So if you go to the next slide, you will see that I work in Google AdMob, and my job is to help growing developers just like you to grow sustainably and to monetize better and better. So if you go to the next slide, you will see that successful monetization is essential for your business growth. So let's assume that you all have your product, so it's up, live and running, and you use already the best practices that have been shared before here in our session to benchmark your product metrics, to iterate, to improve. So your product is live and good to go. And let's assume that you already know what market you are targeting. So you understand your user segments, the geo, the demographic, the why users are going to your game. And here comes the trickiest part. As Anton mentioned before, monetization, one of the hardest part, but it's essential for you to find your product, market, monetization, and channel fit in order to grow. A few note about monetization. So it's important to build your monetization from the start. And once it's built, it's important to stay open-minded and test, iterate, and experiment in order to optimize it further and further. So that's basically what my everyday here at Google AdMob. So I consult clients, big and small, growing and sustainable apps and games to get to this monetization optimization point, right? To help them to be profitable and grow more sustainably. And last but not least, as I said, it's important to combine your monetization fit with channel fit and have positive ROAS. All right, so when the organizer reached out to me for the session, I thought, what can I share with you? In the next 20 minutes would be the most useful content to get from me. If you go to next slide, I think the most important question that we can discuss with you today, it's what do growing developers do differently to grow? So that's the question that I ask myself in this role every day. So I think throughout the years that I've been in this role, that some teams, some developers, they grow faster than others. Moreover, they not only grow faster, but they are growing more sustainable than others. So today I'm going to share with you the 3 things that, in my opinion, the growing developers do differently. So if you go to next slide, I think the most important thing that these developers do is that they have a very, very strong analytics foundation. And they treat everything regarding their product, regarding their monetization, regarding their channel and users as a hypothesis, and they always stay open-minded to test. So you can think of it as a simple stuff. So for example, when you speak to your team, every product conclusion, right, or monetization conclusion, you treat exactly as a hypothesis, not as a fact. So for example, I can hear from people, yeah, full screen apps, they drive away the retention. And when I ask them, okay, what data point do you use to drive this conclusion, they said, no, we just heard this, we assume. So that's very, very important for your team to understand that with ad monetization, treat everything as a hypothesis until you test it and until you have a data proven results to have this conclusion. So it's important to build a strong analytical foundation to understand and segment your users, to understand how diverse are your users, like why they're coming to your product, what's their engagement and retention metrics. I won't go deeper in it. I know you had like a very, very thorough session on this before. But I will say that, and reiterate actually, that it's important to benchmark everything in the analytics, including in the ad monetization. So I suggest to you to ask as many benchmark as you can when you speak to people like me from Google or from any other institutions, organizations that provide you this data. So what kind of benchmark you can ask for on ad monetization? So first of all, you should ask the specific data on your genre. So for example, first question should be, what the monetization split in my genre? So for example, it can be a coloring games, right? What's the split between in-app and ads revenue in general you see? Second question could be, what the ad formats games in this genre or subgenre use? What's the revenue split between the ad formats? What are the typical geos that drive the most revenue? What are the typical rewarded placements or rewarded ideas for the subgenres? So all of this data is available or could be available. So don't be afraid to ask and benchmark to deeper understand what the best practices of monetization in your genre. And yeah, as I said, it's important to treat every monetization option as a hypothesis and test, learn, and scale. So if you go to the next slide, there are definitely So exact solution to provide you with this opportunity. So first, for example, there's a Google solution from Firebase, remote config and A/B testing. So these two features can help you to test any product, any monetization hypothesis easily without the necessity to update your game. And here you can basically provide different parameter value to different user segments or audiences. And second solution, which is a new solution, it's a beta solution from AdMob. If you go to the next slide, it's called impression level LTV Pingback. So here's a bit revolutionary news from AdMob, that we finally have an opportunity for you to provide you impression level pingback data for your BI system, where you can use this data, you can iterate, you can optimize, and learn how you can improve the LTV metric in your app and game. So these are just two examples. They happen to be Google solution because I know better knowledge of them, but I encourage you to stay open-minded and kind of learn and ask for the most recent solutions from any monetization platform that you're using. Okay, if you go to the next slide, let's suppose you mastered the analytics and tests. So in my opinion, the second thing that the growing developers do differently, they combine different types of monetization, which is in-app and ads. They get the most out of hybrid monetization. They don't just treat their LTV as an app LTV, but they stay open-minded to user needs and user monetization potential. So if you go to the next slide, there is this, let's call it myth, right? That in-app purchases is the best strategy for developers and users. But it's important to know now that in average, 96% of users will never spend on in-app purchases. It depends, of course, from which markets you targeted. This number can vary, but in average, only 4% of the users will ever buy subscription from you or in-app purchases from you. So it meaning that if you're using only in-app purchases, you are missing out of the opportunity to monetize the majority of the users in the internet today. So if you go to the next slide, you will see here the distribution. So here's like a classic example of the red ocean and the blue ocean. So of course you think that tapping into the large in-app market may be enticing, but it's important to understand that users have limited budget and they might be already tied up into different games. The competition is very high. So as you can see from the chart on the right, that top 1% of the developer make most of the in-app revenue worldwide, right? So here is for you is opportunity to uncover and unleash the ads market and to become profitable and to benefit from the blue ocean opportunity. And actually at the bottom, you will see that mobile ads revenue is expected to triple by this year, basically. So why not compete rather than, why not monetize with ads rather than compete with a highly concentrated in-app purchase market? So if you go to the next slide, here's opportunity for you to join your peers, to join other game developers that started combining both in-app and ads. So the number of in-app driven games that adopted ads monetization grew up 34% year over year. So let's deep dive into concrete examples. If you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, here's an example of how your ARPDAU can change, given assuming that only now you are benefiting from in-app only revenue. So let's assume that your existing in-app purchase revenue is 5 cents, right? And according to this example, which we used based on our internal data, ads ARPDAU contribution could be 1 cent or 2 cents, which is 20 or 40% revenue uplift. And this is only your net revenue uplift. We don't consider potential retention increase or potential in-app purchase increase, which I will talk later on the example. So long story short, consider ad monetization as a way also to increase your overall ARPDAU. So if you go to the next slide, here's an example from our partner Ludia, which is a game developer with over 400 employees and 3 million DAU with 8 games. So Ludia, on the next slide, started testing our rewarded ads just to test this hypothesis that I was talking to you about. So on the next slide, you will see that Ludia had the following KPIs for their rewarded ads test. They tracked rewarded ads revenue, they tracked changes of the in-app revenue to avoid cannibalization, and they tracked also user retention, the average number of sessions and session length. So in the next slide, you will see an example how Ludia implemented the rewarded ads. So here's their game, Jurassic World. And you can see here a screenshot of the store and the ad prompt that says to start watching rewarded ads, which is pretty discoverable. As you can see, it's important for rewarded ads to be discoverable to the audience, so to be contextually relevant. Second, the rewarded ads here, they're consistent, so they're not intrusive, and the design allows a seamless integration with overall game experience. And last but not least, the rewarded ad here is valuable. The reward is giving a user an option to start a new battle right away. So here's an example of the placement that Ludia tested. And running our Firebase A/B testing, on the next slide, you will see the results that they achieved with testing rewarded ads. So their results were fascinating. So first of all, the increase in rewarded video ad revenue increased it in 4 times with steady in-app revenue. So there was no cannibalization. Their retention was 4 times better for ad watchers than non-watchers. Exactly, you heard it correct. Rewarded ads in this case, they helped to improve the retention because they provided a contextually relevant reward, which prompt user to stay longer in the games and to enjoy the game more. And they also noticed 25% increase in session time for players who watch ads comparing to those who don't. And 50% of DAO watched at least 1 ad per day. And overall, here's the impact of ad revenue on the in-app revenue. So the users were 6 times more likely to purchase within 24 hours after watching an ad because Ludia provided their users a taste of an-app purchase. So users, this 96% of users who never pay, they tasted the premium content and they were more likely to pay than later. So if you go to the next slide, we'll go to our final chapter about what do successful growing developers do to grow. So I call it like as a way of finding your optimal ad frequency given your product market specifics. So what does it mean? What's ad frequency? So ad frequency, long story short, is how many ads you're showing per your session. For example, I start my consultation with this question, okay, like I played your game, let's say your session duration is 20 minutes, I saw X number of ads, why is this number of ads? Like, why did you test out this frequency, or like how did you come up with this number? If you go to the next slide. Here is an illustration of how all of these metrics are interconnected. So on the y-axis, you see the ARPDAU, and on the x-axis, you see ads per session, also called ads frequency. So we see that the more ads you show, the more net daily revenue per acquired user you get until a certain point, right? You see also the red line, which is the retention, which said that, okay, the more ads you show to your users, the less retention is. So it comes from an assumption that, for example, if you show 100 ads for user for, I don't know, 10 minutes, of course, they're gonna quit your app. We don't want you to bombard your users with app. We never want it. We just want you to find an optimal balance. As you can see in the middle, so you see where all the three lines interconnect. So that's the point where we want you to go. We want you to be profitable, so you have a positive ROAS. We want your retention to be maximum, and we want you to show the optimal number ads per session. So it's important to remember when you think about your ad monetization, remember to think about this graph. So on the next slide, you will see what affects ad frequency. So of course, ad frequency depends from many factors. So first of all, it depends from different categories or genres. For example, entertainment, games, education, and so on and so forth. They have different product and engagement metrics. This will also, and different why, different incentive for users to come back, right? So it's important to remember that different categories, genres have different ad frequency. Second of all, of course, it depends from users, from their demographics, and also from their geo. According to our internal data, some users from different geo have different ad tolerance comparing to others. So I will talk about it later. And last but not least, of course, different ad formats have different ad frequency. For example, banner ad would have different ad frequency from rewarded ad, which we talked a bit before. So on the next slide, you will see the example of different ad formats. So they happen to be from AdMo. You see traditional ad formats, and you can see three new formats: adaptive, banner, reward, social, and app open. So it's important for you, while you think about ad frequency, not to consider only traditional ad formats, but also benefit from new ad formats with better user experience. So on the next slide, you will see more context to what I said earlier. So as I said, different users from different countries, from different territories might have different ad tolerance, right? So in Google, we quote these markets next billion users market. So what's next billion users market? So it's the countries or territories from where we see significant internet penetration growth in the past 10 or 15 years, and where we expect the next billion users to come to internet. So for example, let's say India, you see that from 2015 to 2020, their internet penetration grew from 27% to 50%. So these new users came to the internet, and their habits, their preferences were very different from the first billion users, right? So it's important for you to remember that the users that you are creating your product for, they might have different expectations, thus different ad tolerance. So on the next slide, here are some common characteristics that next billion users might have. For example, they might have low connectivity, of more offline sessions, higher social media engagement, and they expect video as a key content platform because they already came to the internet when video was prevailing. So given that, it's important to remember that if you are targeting your users globally, consider to having a custom monetization strategy for each of the geo. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, here are key takeaways from what we discussed today. So we started with the question, what do growing ad developers do differently? So I think that first, they build a strong analytical foundation. They take a lot of time to do this. But once you have this muscle, once your team have a habit of testing in a lean way and implementing the hypothesis into your product and monetization, you will be very well set off. Second, then they get the most out of in-app ads. They never treat ads with some, myth or bias, prejudice, but they open-minded, and they let the data to show how ads impacting their user retention and not just assumption. And last but not least, they find optimal ad frequency. They understand their users, they understand the flow, and given all that, they get to the point where they are profitable, but yet the retention and all the other metrics are on their maximum as well. That's it for me. Next slide would be just a thank you. And I'm very excited for your question. Thank you so much. I'm here passing on to my colleague, Mikhail, who will talk about awesome ways to monetize with offer walls and app purchases.
Yeah. Hey again, Bagdina, thank you very much for your exciting presentation. And yeah, here I want to cover another type of monetization that was previously a bit before. It's in-app monetization, the most famous and current ones. And I will try to put main attention on offer system, which is from our point of view is a key part of in-app monetization. But first, let's start from the current function of regular shop in mobile free-to-play games. I think that that right now its main and most important goal is to set the base value to the hard currency level and form players' expectations. What is cheap? What is effective to buy? How is this offer or is this in-app interesting or no? And all of this you can see from the base values that you see in your shop. And two other functions, they're really not so important, but that also plays grant whales could spend money in your regular store. I will cover it a bit later. And of course, this is place for special offers. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, in this slide, you can see an example of user spend distribution allocated by source from all the games in MY.GAMES venture capital portfolio. And we have really a lot of them. And here you can see that common regular shop lots are taking only from 10 to 30% of revenue, and other 70 to 90 are really all of the offers that bring to you. This could include battle pass, first purchase bonus, some triggered offers, classic offer system with cyclical offers, etc., etc. And yeah, on the graph you can see just very good and very exciting example from one of our products. So let's go to the next slide. Here you can see a typical example of a game economy model for a mobile free-to-play product. You can see that, yeah, on the axis there is price per crystals and in-app time, how much money it costs for your user. And you can see that the regular store prices begin with the lowest efficiency rate for users, and it's increasing while increasing the price of an app offer for each. And from the other hand, vice versa, offers price works completely different. You are starting from the most cheap in-apps with the best price per crystals. We try to convert users and to provide them this, as Bagdina mentioned, this really 4% of users to provide them this very good experience of buying something. And yeah, you can see that on a highest 100 USD in-app rate, it's not very big difference between the regular store price and offer price. And that's why we mentioned that a regular store could be really a place for grant whale users to spend money, because that's not a big difference for them. And you see the third line on it, it's promo offers price. What we call here, it's different triggered or one-time offers that really force users to convert into paying users, to provide them this experience and really go and start spending on your games and then increasing their monetization. Next slide, please. Yeah, there I mentioned different main type of offers, how we classify them. The first one is one-time offers. It's really an offer that are provided for users one time in their life. And yeah, starter pack is a good example of it, but there are a lot of them. The second one are triggered offers. These are offers that working with user state. Is he lack of energy, money, mana, different items, and provided to a user just in time. The third one are cyclical offers, which were mentioned on the previous slide. These offers are working with users on the standard user behavior pattern to provide the best experience for them. They are repeatable, and they mainly form this offer system that you can see in a lot of in-app monetized mobile games right now. The next one are event offers, and these are offers linked to different time-limited events that could be launched during in the product lifetime for users. And very close to it, the fifth type, it's world event offers that from our classification are offers linked to world events like New Year, St. Patrick's Day, Halloween that are coming close, etc., etc. And now we want to detailedly look into any of them. So next slide, please. on it, you will see the one-time offers type. Yeah, as I mentioned, it meets only once during player lifetime and usually provide a huge discount because it's promotional offers. Also, there could be mentioned some offers, such offers like players reached 10 level, players defeated any difficult boss, and the task of these offers is to convert our user to the first payment, or sometimes to push him into the higher cohort to make it to higher tier spending level. Next slide. Here we can see triggered offers. As I mentioned, yeah, they can be repeated but can be not, and this usually are offers working with user state. So we try to understand what users need right now, what he wants, what would be the most interesting item for him, and trying to make this spontaneous emotional payment based on emotional attachment of users. And yeah, you can see that in these offers, on example, sometimes the discount isn't very big because yeah, they are working with some emotional attachment of a player. He wants it right now and he could buy it. Next slide. And here, one moment. Yeah, cyclical offers. They are repeating. They are working on day-by-day level, depending on your setting ups, how you set up your system, how you work with it, what you want from a user right now. They could be repeatable, or they could provide you better value from time to time. But it's forming user payment pattern for our users. And yeah, their target is to make regular, repeatable payments and to form your incoming revenue. Next one. Next slide, please. Yeah, event offers. And event offers, they could appear only on the duration of an event. They could really have different amounts of discount from the very low to the high ones, depending on the aim of your in-game event. Because yeah, of course, everyone wants to get money from a content, but there could be different event goals. For example, to remove some hard currency from a game, to increase user retention, to present some different type of gameplay, and all your offers could support you in this achievement and activities. Next slide. Yeah, and here we want to share with you the typical criteria from our point of view, which could help you to form your users' cohorts and to set up your system of cyclical offers. What could be really useful for you to track from a user? Of course, total sum of all the users' purchases, both with some of the users' purchases for the last period, because you know sometimes there are some cases when user, for example, starts spending high on your game, but then reach some level and don't want to spend so much amount. And that would be really useful to check how much he spent during the last 30 or 60 days, because yeah, he can't be ready for 100 USD offer right now, but he could buy your 5 USD offer with a pleasure. Of course, maximum users purchase, because you need to understand how much is comfort for this player to spend. Because yeah, it could be different, it could be the same amount of all the purchases, but one user could only make 100 USD purchase, and the other could done it in 20 times for $5. And of course, times in last user's purchase to form this pattern. To understand, usually we recommend to use something like 1, 3, 7, 14, 30 days on this basis, but of course, anything dependent on your games, on your game, on your test, and on checking hypothesis of your team. Yeah, next slide. And to track all of this, to provide this to investigate what would be the better criteria for you, how to structure an offers, it's super important to have admin panel that allow you to create new offers, to change existing ones, to experiment with them, to start and stop them just right now, to have this admin panel for an offers. It's super critical, because if you need the client or server update to apply any change, it really doesn't feel good from the users. And you need the opportunity to fix something, to apply some very good ideas just right now, just by changing some data in admin panel, not without any updates, because you know sometimes it could take a long time to apply the update for your game. Next slide. Yeah, of course, future of offers, because yeah, these offers and monetization is really a place that you can't stop anytime, any way of your experimenting, of providing different A/B testing. Magdina mentioned some sources how it's important to make A/B testing, and for your in-app monetization, it's super important. Different RFM analysis, of course, and checking new hypotheses with all of your team to understand what would work better, what could be the most interesting content for your users right now, how it's possible to improve any mechanic in your game. Okay, let's go to the next slide. There would be some examples of interesting ideas from our side. What would be the future of an app monetization and offer system? The first one is chain offer. This mechanic really starts gaining popularity because it's very interesting for users. And to get to the offer, you need to claim the previous one. Just on this picture, on this example, you can see that there is a very good example of hybrid monetization, like Magdina mentioned. So both in it, you can see rewarded ads offer, some just free slots to claim it for free, and payment offers. And the most interesting item would be the last on this chain, and it would be carrot on a stick for your users. Again, very good example that both in-app monetization and rewarded ad monetization could work together and be fine for users. This was a test from our game Hustle Castle, and the results were amazing. And next slide, on it, you can see another interesting example of something good, fresh idea how you can work with your monetization. Again, it's Hustle Castle project, and the team decided to provide user a choice for the starter offer to understand what would be better for these users with different prices and how it could be excited. Every user could choose something, the best option for them by themselves, and that's very interesting for them. And yeah, it provided very good results. Okay, next slide. I think it's one of the last. Yeah, here at MGVC, we are continuously working on our monetization approach among all our studios, all our products, and try to share any successful idea, any successful case between all of them, trying to hold on different experiments with interesting kind of projects and really search and find the best solution for each genre. Because, yeah, I think Magdina also mentioned this, depending on the genre, your offer system, your different setting ups could be completely different, and you need to iterate and you need to check all the hypotheses here to find what's the best for you and how you can really make it interesting for your audience, because the audience is the key for it. I think that's all from my side. Thank you very much, and I would be happy to answer your questions or any comments or just ask something for us. Yeah, and again, as Anton mentioned, we are waiting for your projects on MGVC.com Game Drive, and please present it to us, and we would be happy to detail look through it.
All right. Thank you, Mikhail, and thank you, Magdina. This was amazing. This was very helpful, and I hope you guys have been listening and getting the most of it. So yeah, now it's time for the Q&A, and I'm gonna pass the mic. Well, first, again, do not hesitate to ask your questions. We have lots of time for that so far, so please, it's your chance to use our experts' time to get the answers to your questions, so to get the most out of them. So I'm gonna pass the mic to the Zavtracast guys. We have some questions from the audience, so please, guys.
Okay, all right. I also wanted to reiterate one thing from myself, because we also had one question about is application to Game Drive is still available? And yeah, it's still available until tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day. But one thing that I wanted to ask everyone is, like, how much time would it take to fill out the application? I mean, like, is it going to be like 10 minutes or half an hour or 2 hours? How much data should you prepare for that? And what kind of data kits or assets you should prepare for that? I mean, how much time does it take? And everyone is like, what?
Visible frustration. Okay,
but I really hope that someone would return to me with this kind of answer. But for now, it's a question for Magdina, I guess. The first one is from our listener. It's Dmitry, and he's asking, I'm a monetizer in a PlayCore, a small mobile game publisher that makes mid-core and casual mobile games. And recently we got banned from AdMob for a reason that can't be related to us, hacking, because we're no hackers. The appeal was rejected without explaining the reason for the ban. And is it possible to talk to someone to find out anything? Is it possible to talk to someone in AdMob, like middleman management or something? And AdMob has a very important place in our waterfall. The question itself is, how can a young publisher talk to an AdMob manager, get advice, and learn how to avoid mistakes if we're making them?
Thank you very much for the question. Thank you, Dmitry. First of all, nice to meet you. Congrats on having your mobile game working at the PlayCore, right? A small game publisher. So first of all, that's a great question. That's what we here also to provide you how to be proactive on this question. So I think you have two questions here, right? So first of all, how a young growing game studio can talk to monetization managers like me in AdMob, and second is about policy, about your case. So let me start by first one, how to talk to AdMob. So unfortunately, our resources as for now are very limited. So we select the publisher that we talk to, that we take to our book of business proactively. But we reach out in the beginning of quarter, right? So usually we would contact a person on their AdMob email. But we do have a lot of scaled activities for developers just like you. So first of all, we do our webinars, AdMob webinars. I will ping the link to the chat if the host allow us. So we do like at least 6 webinars per quarter in different languages. I personally drive webinars in Russian. So yeah, there is a special place where you can follow our webinars and get in touch with us on this kind of live streams. Second, there's AdMob community user forum. I will also send a link. So I hope that answered your first question. Yeah, our host wants to say something, I think. No? No, okay. We're good. So that's the first part, right? Hopefully we will reach out to you proactively. Second part that you mentioned is about the ecosystem. So I'm so sorry what happens to you, that they were hacked and something out of your control. However, it's important to understand how the system works, right? So AdMob consists of 3 main stakeholders. First is, of course, is developers, you publishers. There's advertisers and there's users. So there are, unfortunately, many frauds going on in ad monetization right now that want to hack and risk our system, right? So our trust and safety team, the policy team, they have sophisticated tool to identify their ad fraud activity, and it could happen that your AdMob account could be impacted. Maybe maliciously you didn't know some rules, right? And it happened that you were affected. But I will send you a link to resources called Ad Traffic Control Center. There are some things that you can do proactively to prevent it. So I see our host looking at me a bit suspiciously. Maybe I'm taking too much time. So yeah, hopefully that will help. I will be pinging the links. And yeah, I hope to talk to you, and I wish all the growth to PlayCore, to your team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next question is really super common question. Go ahead, Max.
Yes, it's from our listener. Apple is restricting data collection a lot right now. How does it affect benchmarking and monetization analytics, especially if I'm new to the free-to-play freemium market? Should I maybe choose Android for my soft launch?
Hello. So, Dmitry, it was a nice question, I can say, because I have been reading a lot of articles per day that try to talk for us something about new post-IDFA era, everything will be good, everything will be bad, but you can't find any numbers anywhere, any figures. So usually I start my day from opening our analytic tools, and I can convert facts into numbers. I can say that Apple restricted the count of data for machine learning algorithm of platforms, and they lost some effectiveness in buying traffic. it brought rising in CPM, in cost per thousand, for 30 to 60%, I can say. And we see that all niches in all countries meet the same problem. And all companies meet the same problem. However, for small companies, it is more critical. Impact is felt more strongly by smaller companies because small companies don't have enough cash to test different strategies and don't have a chance to make a mistake. And to be honest, no one knows right now anything about the possibility to back to previous numbers. So to make a soft launch on Android is a good strategy right now. You will get, I prefer usually Android right now, nothing else. You will get more data and a clear picture of user behavior, especially of the first time user experience period. And more data means more data-driven decisions. And I don't see any alternatives right now. So hope I
Thanks.
give you a full answer.
Hey, thanks.
Very good answer. The next question is also platform specific. How does the platform affect the spending pattern of a user? Say PC, Android, iOS. Should I think about some sort of platform specific micro correction in my monetization models?
Yeah, I think let me answer on it because it's a very interesting question. And of course, you need to keep in mind, I think not the difference of the platforms, but mainly different payment patterns on this platforms and especially user behavior. So for example, we understand that for PC games, players usually try to spend really long time sessions, and with mobile platforms, they are much more faster, and that's why you need to plan your offers how it would be better in terms of platform. And in general, we could advise that on mobile platforms, like I mentioned, users are really attached to sometimes emotional offers that is interesting to them to buy. So you can try to work with user state and for example, some one-time offer that would be triggered, and vice versa for PC. That's a good time. That could be just subscription for VIP for a month that provide you some benefits as a user. But in general, it all depends mainly, I think, not on the platform, but on your game genre. Because for RPG battler and for example, for match-3 game, there would be completely different patterns. And for example, for shooter, they would be the third. But both RPG and shooters, they could be run on all of the platforms, and your game could be cross-platform. Hope I answered this.
Okay, I guess it was really comprehensive. So the other question that we had from our listener is that a lot of games are monetized through several ad formats instantaneously, and it's kind of annoying, really. So it's like different ad formats, and they are being, I would say that they're implemented in one app, and sometimes they are even, overlapping each other. So you talk about the ad tolerances. Is a number of different ad formats should be considered as a metric too?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. So first of all, short answer to your question, yes. The number of ad formats that you use in your app, it's definitely a metric. It's definitely something to work on, to improve on, to test on. That's for sure. It's important for you to build your so-called multi-format strategy, right? If there are not only, let's say, your top format is rewarded, but also you have interstitial full screen apps or banner apps and so on and so forth. So let me tackle, if you don't mind, the point that you mentioned about being annoying. So this is an emotional description, which I suppose might lead to some concrete metrics. So for example, if you say annoying, let's assume what the implication could be. Your user rating could drop, right, on your store, or your churn metric could increase. So all of this emotional characteristic is a good indication for you to track. So if you think that some ads are annoying, please make sure you're tracking the KPIs. And while experimenting with your ad format strategy, multi-ad format strategy, make sure that you track what was the impact of different ad formats. But honestly, from your questions, I think you kind of don't trust different ad formats. However, yeah, if you don't mind, let me challenge you. If any of this based on concrete numbers, I would love to hear. If you want, feel free to ping to the question. But again, as I said in my presentation, it's important to define what is kind of our assumption and what is based on our data on our users.
Because you definitely have to look into the numbers. How do they work? I mean, like, especially if you use like 3, 4, 5 ad formats in your app, and if you show lots of them, then you could see that that your retention drops, or that people are just deleting your app. So maybe you are just overdoing that. So you have to look into the numbers. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But if you don't mind, let me play devil's advocate here. But it also could be that none of these metrics effect, of course, depends from your genre, right? If, for example, in the previous question, there was a hardcore game developer, right? Of course, like for this kind of games, the ad tolerance will be so much different. But if it's mostly, let's say, ad-friendly genre and your users, there's opportunity also to test with different ad formats. Of course, I never want your retention to drop. If ads negatively impacting your retention metrics, don't do them, or try to find the balance. But I think what my everyday job is here in AdMob is to challenge and make sure that all your assumptions here, they are exactly based on data and tests. So for example, what I do in my consults, we take subgenre and we see, okay, your peers are using the 4 ad formats, here's the rev share, and you're using only one ad format, right? So the assumption that if you will use additional ad formats, the assumption that your revenue overall will grow. So why not test them? And we have many successful cases when we helped developers to be more profitable and to grow. So I think it's more about balance and some concrete numbers. But yeah, feel free to challenge or share more examples.
Okay, thanks. Really comprehensive. So the other question that we wanted to ask is that, it's kind of like a casual question. So maybe, I don't know who's going to be answering that, about how are in-app purchases bundles are being calculated. I mean, like Call of Duty bundles or something like that. For example, how the prices have been calculated. Are they big or are they small?
So, hello again. I can say that is a very deep topic. It's like you should be a scientist to try to know everything about that. However, in a few words, when we're talking about bundles, a good way is to find elasticity of a price and its impact on your, percentages of payment and so on. And there are no silver bullet here. Only one way to measure impact, it's make a lot of tests. Yeah, it's the right way. However, there are 2 strategies when we're talking about bundles and special offers. The same amount of money, but more goods that you put into bundle, and less money, but the same volume of goods. And there you should ask yourself what impact you want to meet. I mean, what numbers you are going to increase, percentage of payment or average check. The first, when we're talking about the same amount of money, you will meet increasing of average check. And when we're talking about less money but the same volume of goods, you will increase percentage of payments. So that's all I can say right now, maybe.
Okay, I guess. Thanks. So the other question that we wanted to reiterate is that about how much time it actually takes to fill the submission form for Game Drive. I mean, like, how much data should you provide? What kind of data should you provide? And is it like 10 minutes or half an hour or 2 hours?
Hello, Artem is here, executive producer at MGVC, and I will answer this question. So actually it takes to fill in the information just a couple of minutes. You need to provide us a link to the Google Play of the game. Also, you need to provide us with the gameplay video of your game, for example, on YouTube or other system. And also, it will be excellent if you provide us with a doc with the information about your team, about your product, about your assets maybe, and so on. So the much information you will send, then it will be easier for us to take a decision about your game and evaluate your metrics, your assets, your game, and other information that you provide us with. I think that's it.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. So
Thank
I
you.
guess it's going to be like half an hour, and you have to have at least a video of gameplay. So that's like the biggest thing that you should
I think yes,
prepare.
you're right. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So, Anton, actually,
Yeah.
we had a question that is mostly about your expertise here.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. So the question we have apart from the YouTube stream is that, may I ask the link for the record? Because the content is worth watching again and again, and this is completely true. And we have just dropped the YouTube link to the Zoom chat, so you can see all the previous hammers. They're already there, and this particular one will be available very soon. So please follow the YouTube channel. Everything is there. All right, we have some more questions. Again, thank you, Zaftercast guys, for starting this up. And the next one is, when do we start integrating the offer system? So Misha, if you could help us out with that.
Sure. Yeah, again, it's very interesting question. And here, the first part of answer would be, of course, it depends on your team, on your product roadmap, how you will see the game development and all of this. But from our side, we could recommend that after the initial monetization test, so when your product is entering soft launch stage, it would be good for you to have some minimal amount of different type of offers to test the monetization. Because right now, audience is really very, very high appreciated of different sales offers and etc. And the game without them would not provide the metrics you want for it. So let's call it, I think, a soft launch after the initial monetization test and the retention tests.
Okay, thank you, Michael, so much. We have a next one. And guys, again, do not hesitate to ask your questions either in Zoom or in YouTube channels. The colleagues here are exactly for the sake of answering them. So the next one would be, what are the most important offer metrics to keep track of? So, Dima, can you help us?
Yeah, sure. So we have two group of questions here, like a small group about the offer, and you should measure count of payment, percentages of payment of this offer. But I met another good question about, is it possible to mash up monetization by using offers? And that is another huge group of metrics. Just do not forget about your project revenue, about your project average payment per user, and so on. It's important to always check the whole numbers, not only impact of current offer. Yeah, just maybe. And let's take the second question about offers mashing up monetization. Is it possible to mash up? Sure, yeah, and it's very easy. Like the most popular case that I see when offers in the field of responsibilities of marketing, and the marketing team doesn't check the ideas about game designers, and they can break, they can break flow of gaming. For example, give too much discounts for epic armor and epic weapons. and that is a huge problem. So always check, as I said before, impact for whole project. Yeah, maybe that's all. If you have any special cases, you can write them, and I will try to find special metrics for your case. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dima. He can help you find the special metrics, guys. Here comes the next one. How many unique offers can be present in a successful free-to-play game? So does anyone want to volunteer to answer that?
Yes, I can answer this one. So speaking about the number of unique offers, it's maybe hundreds or even thousands of different offers, because it will be change a lot depending on the behavior of your users. So if the behavior is changed, or for example, you released an event, a time-limited event or something else, the offers will be changed according to the balance of the event, or if the balance of the game was changed, for example. In cumulative aspect, it will be hundreds or even more events in the game, in a lifetime of a game. I mean, in a lifetime, yeah. And also your offer system, I think it should be developed all the time. So I think that we can try different approaches and to understand what offers work best for your audience and so on. So we should iterate with the tests, A/B tests, and so on.
Okay.
Maybe, and maybe Michael or Dmitry will add something on this note.
No, I think you completely answered on this question. So, and yeah, again, we could jump on a big discussion and long discussion about it, but in general, yeah, this is, sounds like this.
Yeah, guys, we don't really have a lot of time for the long discussion, but thank you so much for this, Artem. And Misha, I have another one for you. So some forms of monetization are under active fire right now, especially in-app monetization, in-app purchases in premium games, and in-app purchases in general in some countries. So it would be interesting to hear your perspective on this, and what will change if lawmakers will restrict in-app monetization.
Yeah, very good question. Of course, we also are trying to monitor all of these legal issues that are coming through there. I can't tell you that it's mainly about in-app purchases, because from our point of view, I think on the fire right now are loot boxes. It's of course a famous type of in-app purchases, I think the most popular one. And yeah, there are really a lot of questions about it on different territories, but also there are some ways how the guys trying to solve it. For example, right now in the territories where it is impossible just to sell loot boxes, you can sell some hard currency for a game and then add the loot box as a present. Also, what is perspective? Of course, yeah, working on some other type of monetization. Everyone right now understands how popular became battle pass, different battle pass mechanics in free-to-play mobile games, which don't provide these questions, which is really highly accepted by users and interesting for them. Another interesting way is, like Bagdina mentioned, 96% of audience don't want to make an in-app purchase, but you can monetize them with ad monetization, and they could bring you some part of revenue. And of course, everyone here knows a lot of titles which are driven mainly by rewarded ads monetization, not in-app. And that's a reality right now, the reality of 2021. In-app monetization and hybrid monetization, both with it, are also a way. But yeah, seems like in-app monetization, different hypotheses, different ideas would be changing more and more to provide better experience for users, and we will see how it would work. So try to experiment, as we mentioned, try to A/B test, look for interesting ideas. Battle pass are interesting mechanic. Rewarded ads is a very useful way of monetization.
give me 1 minute to add some additional
Sure.
information. I'm a fan of game history. I can say that in the 30s in the United States, pinball, do you know the pinball, yeah? Pinball was restricted as a gambling game, but pinball didn't have anything else. People had only one button and one stick for pushing a ball. Then game developers, they made flips for pinball, and it started defined as a skill-based game. Now it is not a gambling. So now we are here. Everyone will try always to restrict our will for entertainment, but it's impossible for me right now. It's just we will always find how to make interesting games and how to sell games for players. Yeah.
That does sound reassuring. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. This has been insightful. So it seems that we have answered all the questions. Again, you still have time, guys. Please do ask them. Do not hesitate. Do not be afraid to do that. The guys are ready to answer any kind of question today. And we have one final thought from Bagdina on ad monetization. So please do that. Share your knowledge.
Thank you, Anton. Thank you all. Yeah, it's been great experience to hear from you. I had several questions. However, if you allow me to assume, I understand there's a feeling towards ad monetization with a bit suspicious, right? That's before my question was that ads can be annoying and so on and so forth. So I want to share with you two thoughts just to think about it. So first of all, it's about how our industry, and not just as us, right? As Google, as other big players, but overall, I think as an internet industry, I think we failed to explain the user that the content is not free. Yes, of course, it's ad funded, it's free. However, you as developers, your teams, you put lots of long hours, you put lots of effort into content creation, and it's only fair that you get rewarded for this, right? So nowadays, most users don't get troubles. They don't get some suspicion when they ask to pay for Netflix or for any streaming services, let's say, I don't know, 14 years per month, right, for free content. But when it comes to apps and games, we still have some stereotypes or biases, right? So it's just something to think about as an industry. So that's the first thing. And second thing, I also want to share that the policy issue that we discussed before, the ecosystem health, it's important, it's fundamental. However, don't think that it's out of your control and it's a black box. There are ways for you to be proactive. We have lots of details. I pinned to the chat Help Center article, just one, but there are much more. You can see the link built inside. So basically, long story short, if you are a goodwill developer, if you want to play fair games and you have no intention to break any rules, basically you have nothing to be afraid of when you do ad monetization. So yeah, just two thoughts from me. But overall, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you. I hope you all apply to this great acceleration, and hope sometimes I can speak to you further on.
All right. Thank you, Bagdina. Thank you so much.
So inspiring.
Yeah.
I really hope that as many publishers and as many little game developers are going to be participating in this program, because actually it's a really good way, especially to begin your path, even if you had some failures in the past and right now you are testing out like your third game or fourth game or fifth game or something, and you just don't know what to do. That's a really good way to start up your career in the game dev, to get help from a really good developers, from really good publishers, from really big companies who are going to share their expertise, going to share their resources, and that's really cool. Yeah. So I guess we're going to wrap it up, and I guess today was really, really cool. I got lots of really cool insights myself. I made some screenshots.
Yeah, I think today's session was very helpful if you're a beginner in this or you're a more advanced developer and you know your ropes and how monetization works. Still great insights, and I think a lot of good questions too for our speakers to answer. So time well spent.
Yep. So
Yeah,
we're
guys,
gonna. It's gonna be really cool if you look into the recordings. You can look into our YouTube channel from Zavtracast because we're gonna have the translated version of this AMA session, and it's gonna be in Russian. And if you want the original one, you can use the MY.GAMES YouTube channel, and there is an original version in English.
you guys didn't have to make screenshots. Come on, you're gonna have the recording as well. All right. Thank you guys all so much. Thank you to our experts. Thank you to the viewers, and of course, thank you to the translators. Thank you to all who participated in today's AMA session, and special thanks to our Zavtracast and 80 level colleagues and partners. We had some amazing insights today, and we sincerely hope that each one of the AMA sessions we had during September and October will be of use and of help to you guys when you develop your mobile game. And before we end our final session today, let me remind you that you still have one more day to submit your mobile game for the Game Drive project. So if you're a mobile game developer who has your project already published on Google Play and you're looking for support or consulting or investments,